Hello, everybody. Vincent here with my second Be Live show, and I hope you can all tune in. This is a live show on Facebook through the application BeLive.tv, and there will be a replay of this after the show. These are exciting times. This is something that I've been looking to use for some time. And through the wonder minds of a couple gentlemen that we'll be talking about during the show, as part of the show, we're going to learn a little bit about BeLive.tv, and we're going to learn about the world of live streaming and how it can really build community. I've been a guest on a few shows since I first learned about BeLive.tv a couple of weeks ago. I've got the standard plan, which is very reasonable, so I can do these shows and do some very user-friendly, hands-on things to make it a fun show. Hey, Annette. Annette down in Denver, I believe, tuning in. Thank you, Annette. Annette, a big part of the music scene, supporting the music scene. It's very interesting. I would compare this to learning an instrument where there's a certain amount of muscle memory and practice that goes into it. Although you can learn this much faster than you can learn to play ukulele. That's pretty much given. And the thing that made it so easy for me, in large part, was the wonderful training that was available, some of it free and some of it very, very, very reasonably priced, like a trip to Starbucks, basically, by Mr. Steven Healey. And we are really excited to have Steven Healey with us today. So we're going to bring him on. Welcome, Steven. Thanks for being with us.
Hello, Vincent, and thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's cool because this is my second show with a scheduled guest, and seeing you there with that backdrop, I remember seeing that backdrop and you there when you've been doing your shows and doing this great training that really made it easy for me to use. So you're definitely a mover and a shaker in the live streaming world.
It's very kind of you to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that, I've had different online training, and I think the thing that's really, really important, Cindy and Emma Marie are watching. That's wonderful. Hey, you guys. Great. I'm actually going to do this because I want to get used to doing this. So there's Annette here in Colorado listening in. She's saying, hey. And Cindy and Emma Marie from Loveland, Colorado. And a great name of a town, Loveland. You can't go wrong.
No, that's true.
So that's about 20 miles south of where I'm here in Fort Collins. Right. Great to have those guys watching in.
Indeed, it's good to meet them both.
Absolutely. You did a great job of those trainings. I have to compliment you because the pacing was really great, and obviously you know your stuff. And again, you're training people that have no idea at first what they're doing. So kudos to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I mean, the thing is that I also write software, and I've been designing software.
We're here with Steven Healey. If you're just tuning in, this is Vincent on BeLive.tv, the latest and greatest way to live stream. Steven, for folks that are tuning in that are not familiar with BeLive.tv, compare your experience, like a user's experience, going from a simple live stream with just them on there. Actually got our subscription. Oh, great. And this is wonderful for BeLive.tv, just to pause for a moment on that thought.
Really?
This coming from Cindy. They just got their official subscription yesterday and have it open now to figure it all out. So this is groundbreaking, Steven, and you're gonna be very excited to hear this. And Annette cannot wait to try either. Emma and Lucy are 13 years old, extremely well-spoken for any age, basically. And they're going to be doing the Emma and Lucy show starting in October, where they're going to be having on youth musicians and performers and so forth. How exciting is that?
That's brilliant. That's exactly what BeLive.tv was built for. for people to go live and interact with the audience and to inform, educate, and entertain everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really true. And when you look at how you can entertain people, and when they have their comments going here, it's really great where we could actually, and I would choose not to do this now. I want to focus on speaking with you at this point.
Okay.
But we could bring other people on the show. We could bring a third person on the show at one time.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the question you asked me is to compare this to Facebook Live. Now, you can go live on Facebook on your own, and you can broadcast to the world, but all you're actually doing then is you're not getting to know people. People are getting to know you because they can see you on video. The magic happens when you get more than one person on screen. Like we're talking today, getting to know backgrounds and lives, and we're reaching out, and anybody who comments can be brought into it. This is interactive. It's not passive. You can get involved. If you make a comment, Vincent can feature it on the screen. If you want to come and join us or join Vincent at any of his shows, then you can come and join him. And it's networking at its best.
It really is. It really is. And we're going to urge people that are watching now to share this broadcast on Facebook, which would be wonderful if folks can do that. We want to welcome you to the show. We've been online here for close to 10 minutes, and we're gonna have the show for about an hour. So definitely time to connect with people and talk to them and so forth. One thing that's really important that I'm still processing is that for people to make comments that I, as the host of the show, can see and respond to and to put those comments on the screen, they actually need to click the link on my particular Facebook page. Is that correct?
That's correct. You've got to go to the page that the video is actually playing on, the original page, which is your page. And if you're not on Vincent's page at the moment, at the top of the post you are on, it will say Vincent shared his live video. Just click on live video at the top, and that will take you to the correct page.
Mm-hmm. I want to give out your website to folks so that they can learn a bit more about you, Steven. Steven really being one of the main trainer for Facebook Live, and we're going to go over some of the different shows that you're involved with as well. So you have a page where you have some great information.
Thank you. I mean, it's built up over the years. I mean, we're actually fortunate to be where we are now, because we're now pioneers in broadcasting, and BeLive are helping us to actually reach out to people and tell them about what we're doing and listen to what they're doing and interact. And it doesn't get any better than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. And what's really great for me is I've had an interest for the last few years on connecting internationally. There's something, because I work with youth musicians and their families, and I've always felt like, David, if it's Steven, I'm so sorry, I'm thinking of David Burrows, so I had you both on the show.
We do a show together. No worries on that stuff.
Being able to connect Emma Marie, who's watching right now from Loveland, with Lucy Gowan in London was a really wonderful experience. And so I think it broadens everybody's mindset as to what's possible when you have people who can connect internationally online at first, and then these are real friendships. It's much different than a phone call. It's much different than texting.
Yeah, it is. It's the next best thing to actually meeting in person. And because of the distances involved, you couldn't possibly visit a person in Australia or Japan or China because you spend all your time traveling. Live video is a way to get to know people from your home or office, and that's the brilliance.
Yeah. Now,
talking of homes, you asked me to send you some pictures, which I did.
Yes, you did.
That's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, England is an industrial nation, and we are in transport in trains and the like was by water. And this is the canal. This is the locks on at Devizes, and this is the longest set of locks in the UK. And basically, if you think of a barge starting at the top, it's got to get to the foot, and it's a drop of about 120 feet.
Mm.
And they go through these. There are 24 locks in total. They go through each lock and then drop down into the bottom of the lock, and it's just amazing to actually watch them do it. It's mostly now tourists. It used to be industrial. It used to be a way of getting from Bristol on the Atlantic coast over to London. In fact, you can actually go by boat from Bristol to London, and you would pass through Devizes, and you would be able to take a walk alongside the locks, which are one of the highlights of Devizes, and a feat of engineering. Because if I hadn't been a programmer stroke broadcaster, I would have loved to be an engineer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you sent me that picture, I had a hard time in my mind actually picturing what was going on, because I've never seen anything like that before. I think I understood the basic concept, but I was like, that's extremely unique. That's like really interesting. It's very, very interesting. Also in Devizes?
We're still in Devizes. This is the town that I live, and we have a tradition in Devizes. We've got breweries, like you have craft breweries. We have microbreweries as well. One of them is Wadworth Brewery, and every morning to deliver the beer, they go out with the horses, and there are two sets of two, and they go on a route through the town, which passes along my front door, past my front door.
Nice.
And they deliver cask ale to local breweries. It's a tradition. It's marketing now, but in the days before cars,
right. Mm-hmm.
This was used obviously to transport beer to all the pubs and hotels.
That's terrific. In the northern part of town here in Fort Collins is the Anheuser-Busch factory, where they have as their how would you say, the Clydesdales.
Okay.
As part of their marketing, and it would take a lot of Clydesdales to move all the beer that comes out of that facility.
Oh, too true.
That's really cool. Here's another. This is an iconic place in town.
It is. This is the center of Devizes and the town square. This is where events take place. There's a market every Thursday where local farmers come and sell their produce. And obviously there's the monument there, which has a history. And when you're live and you forget something, but I'll put a link to it after the show so that people know more about it. But that does, it sort of sets the square off, really. Mm-hmm. And you can see in the background all the buildings from the 17th and 18th century, all now are commercial properties.
I see. When you, Stephen, talk about the age of buildings in a town, something in Colorado, obviously Colorado had the gold rush in the 1850s. Yeah. Your town goes back quite a ways.
Well, yes, we've got a castle. Devizes has a castle, and the castle was gifted around 1066.
Whoa.
Now, the current castle dates from the 1600s because it had to be rebuilt. Mm-hmm. And Devizes was a battleground in the Civil War between the Cavaliers and the Roundheads. And there are still signs of that. One of the local churches was hit by a bullet, and that bullet buried itself in the wall. And you can still see the hole there today. So the whole town has history going back 1,000 years, at least.
It's really incredible. We want to let folks know we're talking to Steven Healey. Great talk we're having here on BeLive.tv. If you do have any questions, please put them in there, and we can put your comments up on screen. It'd be wonderful to see where people are tuning in from. Cindy mentioning this is great history info, really good. And Emma is homeschooling.
Ah, right, okay.
Which is one of the reasons that she's able to focus as much as she does on her music. So
Yes.
it's really great. So you're not only are you entertaining us, you're edutating us. That's the new word, edutaining us.
Edutainment.
Edutainment.
But I mean, live video is information, education, and entertainment. So, yeah. I mean, this is the beautiful thing. You were able to show the photographs on Be Live. I'm able to talk when we were able to talk about them.
Yeah,
And
it's fun stuff.
that's one of the best uses of live video. I mean, you can talk to camera all the time, but and interact with people, but you can also tell a story.
You really can, actually. We're going to see actually what other and I just want to look at what we have here. I don't know the particular. Let me scroll through here a little bit. Okay. I really wanted to show this picture here.
Right. Okay.
You live very close to this iconic, to say the least, landmark.
Well, everybody should recognise that. That is Stonehenge, and it's 20 miles away from where we are. And we're very fortunate to be on the doorstep and to be able to visit 2 or 3 times a year. And it is in the middle of the Salisbury Plain, and it just is. I mean, there is, you get special places where you get a vibe, a feeling. Stonehenge is one of those places. It is aligned for the summer and winter solstice. So the sun, one of the archers, straight through, and how they've worked it out, nobody knows. And it is twice a year where the Druids gather and celebrate the coming of winter or the coming of summer. And it is an international tourist. I mean, tourist attraction. If you go there on any given day, you will find people from India, Pakistan, Australia, Japan, Germany, France, the States, Canada, all around the world, coming to just look at what is one of the 7 wonders of the world for me.
Absolutely.
And just while we're on the photo, Lady in blue is my partner, Angelica, and Lady on the other side is her friend from Germany who came to stay with us and had to go and see Stonehenge.
Absolutely. I haven't read about Stonehenge in some time. What is the estimated time period that was constructed?
It's thought it was about 4,000 years ago. Yeah.
Life was much different then.
Oh, that's true. It's incredible that they actually managed to do this. There are, for a wide area around Stonehenge, there are excavations that take place, finding things from 4,000 years ago. And we were lucky enough about 2 months ago to actually go on a dig in Wiltshire. And it's just incredible that what happens is the architecture gets silted over a period of time, naturally. So when the archaeologists come along and they unveil it, it's just magical to actually see how it was 4,000 years ago.
How many miles are you from Stonehenge?
20 miles.
20 miles. So it's very possible that underneath the foundation of your house, there could be like remnants of this past civilization.
It is possible, although we are off Salisbury Plain. This area is protected by the National Trust, who are a national body, an English heritage. And as I say, most of the area around there does have, wonderful things yet to be found. I mean, people keep changing the way that they think Stonehenge was actually created. And if you get the chance to go there, you'll find an exhibition centre. And that exhibition centre takes you back 4,000 years and then brings you right up to date. And it tells the full story of Stonehenge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Emma, if you're listening, all sorts of homeschooling you can do for this. This would be a fascinating project, And then maybe your next visit over to see Lucy in London, you can swing by and meet Steven, and he can take you to Stonehenge. How cool would that be?
That would be very cool. Stonehenge is a cool place to visit.
Absolutely. That's very fascinating. If you're just tuning in, this is Vincent with the Rising Artist Mentorship Program is what I am a part of, and I'm here with Steven Healey, and we're making this great connection here from close to 5,000 miles away through live streaming. Very exciting to work on all of these connections that are happening through Be Live. Steven is an educator and a trailblazer for the Be Live community. And you alluded to the friend of yours that was from Germany. I thought it'd be interesting, your community, speaking of your community, there's an event that you're connected to, a city in France and a city in Germany, which could also be part of Emma's homeschooling. So Emma's saying yes, she's digging all this information. She wants to go see Stonehenge with you. So
brilliant. After the war, in Europe, it was decided by one of the European institutions that what should happen is that towns in Germany and France and England should twin. In other words, connect with each other on the level of the council. So what happened was in 1967, the council here in Devizes met with the council in Weiblingen in Germany and Mayenne in France and decided that they would have a twinning arrangement. Now it's very simple. Every 3 years, we go to France, to Mayenne, for a long weekend, staying with hosts, not in hotels. We're actually staying with real people over the weekend. Then we do the same in Weiblingen in Germany. And then the following year, they come to visit us and stay with us. So we have guests from France and Germany in our house over the weekend. There's a program of events. We show them the local history. We show them the museum. We show them the town centre. We take them to the brewery, of course, and to a factory. So there's lots of visits going on. And basically what you've got is about 150 to 180 people from 3 different countries getting together for the weekend, talking to each other and getting to understand each other's culture. And it just simply works. And I'm honoured to be the chairman of the Twinning Committee in Devizes. And it's my duty on the Saturday morning of the weekend to actually give a speech. And this year, for the first time, I gave the speech in English, first of all, then in French, and then in German. And I'm very fortunate. French I know from school and from visiting France quite a lot. And my partner, Angelica, is German, and I take German lessons with her. So when it came to speaking in 3 languages, I was able to do so. But I'm grateful I didn't actually translate it. Somebody else translated it. I just read it. I've got to be honest.
Well, how cool that you know those other 2 languages, and that happens to be the 2 countries that are involved.
Oh, it just thought that's the way fate works out.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, French and German I did at school a long, long time ago, and then used to go on holidays to down to Nice and Cannes in the south of France. So you've got to speak French because the French won't speak English.
If you want to get any service at all,
you've got to be able to go to a restaurant. You've got to be able to go to the supermarket.
You can't like hold up the proverbial book and point to like what you're trying to say. That wouldn't come across too well.
It doesn't. No, but the thing is, if you are in Germany or in France, if you try and speak the language, you can go into a bar and you can order 2 glasses of wine, and you'll be answered in English, but at least you've said it in French. Yeah, because they know where you're from. It's not just the language; it's the accent. And to speak French with a French accent is very difficult from somebody who's not from France. And as I said, this year was the 50th year. So there you've got myself, and you've got the chairman from Germany in the middle. On the right-hand side, the chairman from France. So we 3 run the committees with a lot of help from the councils in Devizes and Weiblingen and Mayenne. And we actually unveiled 3 stones this year, 1 from Mayenne, 1 from Weiblingen, and 1 from Devizes. And they're on the town green. And they're a permanent reminder that the twinning has been going for 50 years.
That's really fantastic. Yeah, and of course they all speak English. How do you say we are live on Be Live TV in French? Can you say that out loud?
Nous sommes live on Be Live TV. I don't know. I don't know.
It's not French to me.
Thank you. There is a problem in that more and more the English language is being picked up as and being taken into use in Germany and in France. So a lot of the internet terms, yeah, are not being translated into German. They use the same word.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Terrific. We're here with Steven Healey, who is in Wiltshire, UK. Devizes is the name of the town, very historic, and we this broadcast afterwards will also be put onto Facebook and eventually YouTube. So if you did miss the beginning of this program and want to see the beginning, we had some really cool history that we were talking about regarding where Steven lives, and another cool thing about Be Live. So that's pretty cool, you know. And I know that in finishing up about the twinning, it actually sounds more like triplets than twinning.
Okay.
But,
well, yeah, it is a unique arrangement. Normally, twinning would be between 2 towns.
Right.
But it was done between 3 towns in this instance.
So you got the triplet thing going on there.
Yeah.
Interesting how you're meeting in person and building bridges that way. And it was very interesting before we started the live broadcast. You were talking about how perhaps they would not be using Facebook the way that we do in France, but certainly I think in Germany it's a different dynamic there.
Yeah, you can find on Facebook, you can find Facebook groups which are run from Germany, and the only language spoken in the group is German. Mm-hmm. So the Germans are on Facebook, but I couldn't name too many Frenchmen on Facebook. They've got their own equivalent to Facebook, and well, being honest, they speak French, not English. So if you want to learn French, probably the best way, or even German, is to actually go along and join the equivalent of Facebook in Germany and in France, and just watch and listen, first of all, read the text, listen to the videos, and you find a great way to learn a language. In actual fact, I'm going to mention that to Angelica so that she can do a blog post about it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she's always looking for new ways to learn a language.
That sounds really good. Is this, let's see, I'll bring this up here. Now, Blabbing for Britain.
This is a piece of history.
It is.
This is the first ever Blabbing for Britain show. And this was done on a platform called Blab, which has since disappeared. But this was our first experience of live video with more than one person on screen. Mm-hmm. And the top left-hand corner is my real-life friend, John Upton. And he and I have been out for pints and we enjoy each other's company. Then I'm on the right, if you can't recognize me now. And below is Stephen Bray. And this was the first ever show we did. And it was so different. And it wasn't live on Facebook. You could only do it on Blab. But people actually came over and joined in the conversation. And during that first ever show, we had about 12 people swapping seats. But that was the beginning. That's where the interest in live video began. And it's where, I mean, the site had, right, John is here now too. Welcome, John. The site had, had 400,000 people a month. Yeah. It still looks the same, by the way. That's 2 years ago, but it still looks the same. It had 400,000 people visiting each month. And it was a melting pot. And now I would think that about 400 or 500 people are on live video on Facebook, all discovered each other 2 years ago on Blab. And that's why when Be Live started in October 2016, there was already 400 or 500 people who knew how to do it. And that's why it was successful. Be Live TV did not have to train their first users because their first users were practice broadcasters.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So along comes Be Live and really changing the dynamic. And it's now John. Where does John live? John lives.
John lives in Solihull, which is in the middle of England, close to Birmingham, and about 120 miles away from where I live.
I see. Taking notes on that, Emma Marie. I think she's all over the geography of what we're talking about here. This is great. So welcome,
Yeah.
John. Really cool to have you here. I'm here in Colorado. Soon, I think we're already getting snow up in the mountains in
Wow.
some capacity here, but we're at elevation 5,000 feet here in Colorado, very close to Rocky Mountain National Park.
Mhm.
And the tallest peak in the range is just over. There's in our state we have I think 50 peaks over 14,000 feet or over
Wow.
12,000 feet, one or the other. Yeah, it's pretty beautiful place here. We're very fortunate, and we've got the aspen turning color up there,
Oh, yeah.
so pretty nice here. So we're connecting with Steven Healey, who is one of the definite big names in Be Live TV. And speaking of big names in Be Live TV, we have a very iconic picture here as well, Stephen.
Indeed, this was quite a broadcast. This was op is Safria Rehan, and he is the Chief Technical Officer of BeLive.tv. And the system we're using today is the one which he designed. And he is the chief programmer, and this is his vision. BeLive.tv is his vision with Daniel Meyer, and they've created this with their team, and they're based in Haifa in Israel. And we were very fortunate. Gentleman bottom left is Leland Best, who's a very good friend. And then I'm in the bottom right, if you don't know. And this was a broadcast where we were talking about when it became, instead of 2 people on screen, 3 people on screen, and the screen sharing and the sharing of photographs. This was the week that happened. And Safria very kindly came on for an interview. And we spent an hour talking about BeLive and the future of BeLive. And as you know, BeLive celebrates its first birthday on the 16th of October.
That's right. It does indeed. What a vision.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's incredible to actually, I mean, I'd love to design this. Yeah, I would love to be, to actually, have the vision to design something like this. Because when we're using it, we find it relatively easy and straightforward once we've got to grips with it. But what's happening behind here is immense. Yeah, the processing that's taking place for us to be now live on Facebook, just from a web page, is incredible. I mean, when the web was designed, nobody ever thought about this. They didn't envisage this would ever happen.
Right.
And I mean, we love BeLive, do we not?
It's very incredible. I mean, sounds obvious, but it took 17 years into the 21st century to make this available.
It's true. It's true. I mean, it wasn't until last year that it would have been technically possible. Because you needed a series of things to happen.
Yeah. And here's another show.
This is a show, if you are around on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. That's myself and Brigetti. Now, Brigetti, you talked earlier about, we were talking earlier about knowing people around the world. Brigetti, when we broadcast, is actually in Cape Town in South Africa. And this is the beauty of it, that I'm in Wiltshire in England, and Brigetti is in Cape Town, but we come together at 1 p.m. Eastern every Friday for a show which is about BeLive.tv, and it just works. And we've got an enthusiastic audience, and we enjoy it. We enjoy chatting and helping people with BeLive.tv. And just a note from Mr. Upton that tomorrow at 5 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. UK is our weekly show. Episode earlier, a screenshot from it. It's our 93rd show tomorrow, and we've been going, as you can see, for at least over 93 weeks, probably close to 2 years, and we're looking forward to episode 100 sometime in November, December.
That's really cool. And again, here, this is the picture we put up earlier.
That's right. That was the first ever show, and we're now in our 93rd.
That's incredible. So when we look at 10 a.m. UK, we're in a 7-hour time difference. So that would be 3 a.m. Colorado time. That's the beauty of the replay system.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, this is something which is fascinating, because when you're live, obviously you're going live at a time that you want to, and your audience isn't necessarily there.
Right.
So we know from experience that for any video that goes out, 2/3 of the views will be after the show is finished.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as you
Absolutely.
said earlier, we repurposed this on YouTube, and that's even more views. So as my friend David Vaughan says, play for the replay, because you are going to be watched again.
Play for the replay. That's really good advice. Um,
I've seen my life flash before my eyes.
Well, it's cool. And for those that have not hosted a show yet, it's really fun. Like you have this control panel, which is very user friendly. You can bring in a Facebook album prior to the show starting that you originally had posted on Facebook. So I'll post in promotion of the show, I'll post a Facebook album that I make in promotion of the show, showing different pictures relating to who is going to be on the show. And then I can bring that into the show. So I've been utilizing that. And then it's funny because you can see, even though the people watching aren't necessarily seeing it, because I'm soloing you, I can scroll through the album while trying to pick out like where we're going and so forth. And it keeps the spontaneity going.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's the beauty of it. I mean, I've watched the shows that you've done, and the use of photographs. I think it's highly original and a great way to do a show, because when we're talking, we can tell people that we're in Colorado or in the UK, but you've no idea from that what our hometowns look like. Whereas by using the photographs and talking against the photographs, you're bringing your town, your area to life, and we can talk about it. We can both see the photograph, and when we show a photograph of, we're flicking through now, that photo there.
Oh, actually, I'm not bringing it on screen just yet. I wanted to, right. And so, for example, like you're saying, boom, this is where this is completely different than Colorado. I mean, there is nothing like this in Colorado. This is really an incredible place. And then, of course, being near Stonehenge, we're going to get to those pictures soon. But yeah, that's a completely iconic. And the fact you live, what, 20 miles away from that?
Yeah, indeed. And that's Stonehenge. We've also got, because I didn't want to sort of send you all the photographs, it's also close to Avebury. That's Avebury, which is another stone circle, because this area was inhabited 4,000 years ago, and the things that still remain from that time are just amazing and to behold, really. And then in the other direction, 20 miles, is Salisbury, which is famous for its cathedral, which is a great place to visit. I mean, Wiltshire itself, you could come here for a week and go traveling every day and not see everything. It's just an amazing place. I mean, I'm fortunate. For those who know me, they know I'm from Lancashire originally, which is near to Manchester and Manchester United Football Club. And then I was lucky to be in Stratford upon Avon, which of course was Shakespeare's home. I lived there for 11 years. And now I'm in wonderful Wiltshire. So, but just to take your point, we're going to have to turn this around at some point. Yes. And I'm going to have you as a guest on the show talking about Colorado.
Okay. We can do that.
So talking about live. Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that. Absolutely. Salisbury Hill. Didn't Peter Gabriel write a song, Salisbury Hill? I think he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Climbing up on Salisbury Hill, I could see the city lights. Wind was blowing, time stood still. Yeah. Beautiful area. You're there. Very green. We're here, Steve. Let me form a sentence. I'm trying to speak French. See, it just throws me off. We are here speaking with Steven Healey on Be Live TV. Vincent here with you from Colorado, northern Colorado, and Steven about 5,000 miles away in the beautiful area of Devizes, Wiltshire, UK. It's kind of a mouthful, but I got it. I didn't trip over
You
my
got
tongue.
your pronunciation of Devizes is perfect.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. And we have people watching from Colorado, and then we have John from the UK watching, and this is really exciting. Emma's getting a great history lesson during the show that she's probably digging into her internet searches for all of this now. So that's really cool. It'd be wonderful to have some of these youth musicians on your show too. That's for those that aren't familiar with what I do. I work with youth musicians here in Colorado and also overseas. One in the UK being Lucy Gowan, and hoping to find some others as well. And so,
I mean, that's something you started back in 2009, isn't it?
Something I started back in 2009 through a community radio station, and that's Salisbury Hill in Somerset. Oh, we have to pause for a moment. That was not the Peter Gabriel.
No, it was Peter Gabriel. You're quite right, but John is pointing out that it's a different Salisbury.
I wasn't sure if it, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could, John, to be fair, it could be my pronunciation that's the problem.
It's definitely not where Salisbury Steak comes from, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, so the musicians here are quite passionate about working their music, and it would be interesting to see if there is a way to connect some musicians in your part of the world.
Surely, yeah.
With musicians here, and
yeah,
you know, we talked about earlier about how it's a little bit tricky sometimes to bring this back down for a moment. A little bit tricky to get people on air, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about that, Stephen.
It is that there is a reticence that when you talked earlier about bringing people on the air live, there is a reticence, except for the young. I mean, you did the show the other night with your two guests, and they have no fear.
No.
They have no fear of performing live, and no fear of going on live video. So for young people, it's not a problem. But once you get totally self-aware and you feel shy, then it is a problem to go on live video, because most people are not prepared to make mistakes. Now, in any live show, like the show we're doing now, there's going to be something that goes wrong or not entirely right. And you've got to be prepared to go with that. And if you do make a mistake or something doesn't look right, then don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. This is live and mistakes are allowable. I mean, I do a series of interviews for the Wiltshire Business Club, which is run by Roland Millwood, and it's now getting close to 1,000 members. And I do free interviews, free business interviews. So people can come live on video for 15 minutes, give me 3 questions. Who are you? What do you do? How can you help people? And so far, I asked people this morning, and I've had 2 responses. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But 115 people have seen the post. And that's the problem. Even when you do it for free, there is this fear of actually being seen on live video. What's your take on it?
You know, even for me, and I've had some experience being on a camera at our school district TV station. I did 74 episodes of a show where I interviewed youth musicians, and it wasn't live, but I've done live radio, and I did almost 300 of those. So it combines the two, obviously. And I can see even having that experience doing that. When I knew I woke up and I had a show this morning, there was just that extra little, it's a combination of excitement and fear.
I know what you're talking of.
And you're adding in an element that you're not 100% sure that the connections are going to be solid. And I must compliment the folks at Be Live TV. I had extremely minimal problems up to this point. So I think that it's a real, if that is something that's holding people back, I would not keep that back from you. I'm fortunate to have a very, very strong internet here in Colorado. Ironically, I think in the UK, especially around London, I've heard through Lucy Gowan's dad, the speeds can be rather slow, which is ironic because it's like the financial capital of the world.
Well, it is hit and miss. I mean, the problem is that until we started this live video 2 years ago, everybody was concentrating on the download speed. So what you wanted to do was to watch films on Netflix, watch videos on YouTube, and your download speed was the one that determined whether you actually saw a choppy video or a perfect replay.
Right.
Now, that's the download speed. People ignored the upload speed, which is the speed at which you're actually sending data onto the internet. And that's the key thing about broadcasting, that you do have to have a good internet connection, but not just downloading. You've got to have a good internet connection uploading. And to do live video, as we're doing now, just to get behind the scenes and techie, you need to have a minimum upload speed of 1.5 megabits. And ideally, if you're hosting the show like Vincent is, you need to have 5 megabits. If you've got 5 megabits, then you're not going to have any problems. If you've got less than 1.5, you might get problems. We talked about Brigitte earlier, who's in Cape Town in South Africa, and she doesn't have broadband. She's on satellite. So she has speeds round about between 3/4 of a megabit and 1 megabit. So she's quite slow as far as speed is concerned. She manages it. But as you observed, or your clients observed, it can be patchy even in London. There's no guarantees.
Would you say that also when people are streaming, they should, if anybody else in the house is using the internet, it's helpful to have them off the internet?
It is, because you're actually sharing the bandwidth. If they're watching a YouTube or they're playing a game or watching Netflix, then they're actually detracting from your bandwidth. And during the period of the show, if you could ask them to come off the internet just for 30 minutes, two things. One, they know that you're broadcasting it and they might keep quieter. And the second thing is that you're going to have the maximum bandwidth to actually broadcast with.
There it is. I wanted to bring this up. We have about 10 more minutes. I want to thank everybody that's watched this broadcast or the rebroadcast. We are live currently with Steven Healey, who is highly involved with Be Live TV. And I know that, let's see here. Tell us about these great shows that are going weekly.
All right. Okay. I'll give you the background first of all. When BeLive.tv started last October, it was October 14th, I did the first 2 people on screen broadcast in the UK the day after. And in that same week, I interviewed the Chief Executive Officer, Daniel Meyer. So I've known them, Daniel and Safria, who run the company, I've known them and they're now friends. In June, we started a program to help, which you're fully aware of because you've given praise to the course. We started a course on Udemy, which is free to everybody, and then there's a more extensive course. And thank you for taking the course and your comments about it. And then out of that has grown Be Live in 5, which is Be Live in 5 on BeLive.tv. It just sort of has a bit of, bounce to it. Do 5 shows a week. And these are centered around the individuals you see in the photograph. From the top, myself in the middle, Tina Shang, who also, Tina and I run Be Live in 5. And then we're helped by David Burrows, who, as you said earlier, is in Canada, Adair Palmer, who is in Adelaide in Australia, Brigitte, who is in Cape Town, South Africa, and the bottom left is David Vaughan, who is in North Carolina. And then we have, April is best described as the best person to ask a question of in the BeLivers group, which is a support group for BeLive.tv. April is just amazing. So those are the people involved. And then we do 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. You'll catch us most days, 12 p.m. Eastern, and you can watch the shows, and we invite you to come on the shows. And that's the magic, because as you said earlier, it's being on screen and broadcasting is something you can do on Facebook. Being on screen and having 2 people with you that's where it really takes off.
It's really cool. And I think tied into this also, Stephen, is you mentioned April. She's extremely helpful. And I remember I had a few questions when I first started, and it was sort of like the speed of light at the response time, and other people being interested in what the questions were and their own take on that and so forth. So if you look at people getting started, I found it to be a very community-oriented, non-competitive thing where we just all want, there's a genuineness, I think, to people wanting to make this really continue to grow in a positive way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's people helping people. And the beautiful thing about live broadcasting is that there is no ageism, no sexism, no racism, no other ism. The only ism there is getting together and helping each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really true. It's a powerful thing. And I think for me, I'm really excited, again, to reiterate what I mentioned earlier, in this being just my second show as a host. I've been a guest on a few shows up to this point. People are very amenable to having other people on as guests, which is a part of the whole dynamic, actually, obviously. Yeah. I've connected with you in the UK, David Burrows in Canada, and a couple other people that are actually in different continents. And it's kind of incredible to see and communicate with everybody, because these are real friendships that are developing. They're real.
Oh, they are. They're totally real. They're totally real. You're getting to know the real person. The only thing you're not doing is going to the local cafe and having a coffee together. But short of that, it is the best way to get to know people.
Right. Right.
I agree.
So we have about 7 minutes left. Stephen, are there some areas that we haven't covered that you wanted to tap into?
No, I think we've covered most areas, and it's just want to encourage people. Really, I think we both do. Is just do it. Just go live and come on screen. You don't need to go public. You can just do it into a private Facebook group, and you can practice and practice and practice until you're happy with it. In fact, the best way, with just 2 people in it, invite one of your friends, practice with them, and when you're happy, go out and broadcast to the wider world. First of all, to all your friends, then go public. But do it in stages. It's under your control, at your pace, and you decide who actually sees the video, and it's just great fun.
Mm-hmm. I'd be remiss not to bring this up. This is kind of cool. And I know you're not in the whole Be Live thing for getting adulation and all that sort of thing, but it is nice to be recognized, and you certainly were. Tell us about this.
Well, one of it is great to be recognized. I do it because I enjoy helping people, and I love live video. But in earlier this year, in the summer of this year, there was an awards competition, live streaming awards, run by PTZ Optics, and I was taken aback because I was actually nominated for the awards, and so that was a win. To be nominated was a win, because I didn't know anything about it, and I know a couple of people who did it, but I was nominated for best show host and best production using Be Live TV. And in the end, the final result was that I finished unfortunately in 9th place, but in 13th globally. Jeff Adams finished as top US broadcaster. Jeff is the one who was on the Be Live weekly shows. And as John reminds me occasionally, I'm best video chat host in the UK, if not Europe. And that's by votes from my peers. And it was just an amazing experience. I got, on awards night at the Emmys or at the Oscars, and everybody comes up tearful on stage when they're, it was one of those moments. I felt like I'd won. I mean, I'm not. It's just an amazing feeling when you know that people appreciate what you're doing, and that was the sort of quite an amazing thing. And it is I'm in this because I enjoy watching other people do well in shows and celebrate the fact that we can all do this. And thank you for mentioning it. And I won't get a tear in my eye this time, but it was a highlight of the year.
Absolutely. You mentioned Jeff Adams, and there's a changing of Joel Comm coming into play with this.
Yeah, indeed. Jeff Adams is the top broadcaster, quite probably in the world. And thank you, John. Jeff is the best broadcaster in the world, and he was contracted. He is still contracted to be Live.tv, and he's the one more than anybody else who made it popular on BeLive.tv with a show which went out at 3 p.m. Eastern every Monday, and one of the shows had 41,000 views, and it had 625 people watching live. Now that's the figure. Wow. 625 people watching live on BeLive.tv at the same time. He's the man. Mm-hmm. And he's a good friend now, and we've got to know each other. And he is actually changing from his show to a show later in the week, and it's not been announced yet, and it would be remiss of me to say anything about it. But we do know that Mondays, 3 p.m. Eastern, he's passed the baton over to Joel Comm, and he will be going live at 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday with his show. So I wish Joel all the best, and I know Jeff's going to be back, which is brilliant.
When I first was told about BeLive TV by Cindy Siebert, the very first video I think online that I watched was by Joel.
Yeah.
So I think he was a part of it in the very beginning. It's my guess.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a situation. Jeff was the first, and he did his first show last October, November. Yeah. And then brand ambassadors were brought in, Joel Comm, Maury Smith, and Molly Mahoney. So they're brand ambassadors for BeLive.tv, and they too have helped it grow. I'm not saying this is a one-man. We know it's not a one-man show, because there are lots of people involved, all of whom have helped BeLive.tv grow to the stage it is now.
And on a final note, Joel lives in Denver, which is really close to me. That's the nearest big town. So I happen to see he had an event which happened a few months ago down there that he was involved with. So he's a dynamic, to say the least. I mean, he's a dynamic guy, incredible. Entrepreneur and groundbreaking person. I was completely floored. I looked quite a bit into his website and his history and reading about him on Wikipedia, and I was like, oh my gosh, he lives 50 miles from here. It's incredible.
It is, and there are instances where you can actually, and that's so true, John.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and another comment there. This is great that John's watching. This is wonderful. He went to Denver in 1986. Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is a team effort, and long may that continue.
Mm-hmm. Well, this hour's just flown by. This has been really fun. And speaking of which, I wanted to, in this day and age, we're told that people's attention spans, especially if you're under 15, is like 2 seconds. And I really feel like, people still go to the movies and watch movies.
That's right.
People still go to sporting events, which can be 3 hours long. People can play video games for all night, right? They go to music shows that last for hours. So I really feel like this hour that we talked was a great time. It was very relaxed. We were able to, cover interesting things and be spontaneous and go off on tangents, which is kind of my specialty. And so thank you.
No, I thank you. It's been a fantastic hour. I've enjoyed every moment of it. And to everybody who's watched, I'd just like to say thank you. And Vince, that was awesome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And we should do a regular, I'll definitely want to have you back, and I'll certainly accept the invite you mentioned about being on your show as well.
Oh yeah, I think we should definitely do more shows together. Definitely.
I could be on Blabbing for Britain. I could wake up at 3 in the morning. You could hear me with my really deep early morning voice, and I could speak in a terrible British accent and see if people knew that I was actually from Colorado. I'm just joking about that part. But,
okay.
Yeah, wonderful to talk to you. And there will be, for folks that are watching, I want to thank John, the Siebert family. I want to thank Annette for tuning in, and everybody else that tuned in. Thank you so much. I'm going to have another show this Sunday with a phenomenal guitar player from Romania who I've been working with online for a couple of years, 2 to 3 years, Andrei Servu. That'll be on Sunday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, which I believe is 6 p.m. your time out in.
It is 6 p.m. Yes.
Yeah. So, and other guests coming up: Don Grierson, legendary promoter. David Burrows is going to be a guest coming up, and I'm going to keep these shows going. This is really fun. If you have not used BeLive TV, I highly urge you to jump in and give it a try. Wonderful, supportive community and training by none other than Mr. Steven Healey. So thank you for being on the show. There will be a rebroadcast on Facebook as well as YouTube coming up. Steven, thanks so much for being with us. Have a great time.
Thank you, and take care. I'll see you again soon.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody.